Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
I'm a private investigator. I've got some books that come here. Inside I have from the United States District Court ruling.
Controversy for years, from her bold leadership style to allegations of corruption and extravagant spending, young Henyard's tenure has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride. But the latest twist in this saga has left everyone stunned. Federal agents arrested her at her Doton home, marking a dramatic turning point in her political career. She became a member of, I guess I would say, professional team. This shocking development has left residents divided, with some calling it justice served and others crying foul, claiming Henyard is a victim of political sabotage. Last month, the judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without approval from trustees. Let's refine and unpack how we got to this point. Tiffany Henyard rose to promises and an even bigger personality. She didn't just want to be a mayor or township supervisor. She wanted to be a force of nature. Branding herself the super mayor, Henyard plastered her face on billboards, event flyers, and even welcome signs, making sure no one in Dolton or Thorin Township could forget who was in charge. Some admired her charisma, describing her as a relatable leader who wasn't afraid to shake things up. Others, however, saw her self-promotion as a red flag, accusing her of prioritizing her image over the needs of her community from the beginning. Her leadership style raised eyebrows. Board meetings often turned into shouting matches, with Henyard clashing with trustees who accused her of bypassing protocols and making decisions unilaterally. Residents who attended these meetings described the chaos as both entertaining and deeply concerning. Her supporters cheered her on, claiming she was a strong woman standing up to entrenched political forces. Her critics, though, saw her actions as reckless and self-serving. Called our security firm. Sure, they had ones, and we also told our board to come upstairs due to the fact that he had several ways to exit out of the building. One of the earliest controversies that put Henyard in the spotlight was her use of township funds reports. Surfaced that she had charged tens of thousands to government credit cards for what appeared to be personal expenses. These weren't small purchases either. Think high-end furniture and luxury travel. One particularly jaw-dropping revelation was a spending spree on an online retailer where she reportedly spent over $400 in a single day. Community members were outraged, demanding to know why they saw as frivolous indulgences. Henyard denied any wrongdoing, claiming these expenses were all for the benefit of the township. But as more details emerged, her explanation started to wear thin. Then there was the infamous skating rink project, marketed as a community initiative. The project cost millions, but left residents scratching their heads. The rink was rarely open, and when it was, it seemed more like a venue for Henyard's personal events than a public space. Critics called it a vanity project, accusing her of using it to boost her image rather than genuinely serving the community. Her supporters, however, argued that she was trying to bring something positive to Dolton, and that her efforts were being unfairly criticized. And as
our security firm, we made sure they had wands, and we also told our board to come upstairs due to the fact they had several ways to exit out of the
reportedly cost over $8,000 in taxpayer money, with some concerts drawing fewer than 50 attendees. Critics called it a blatant misuse of public funds, while Henyard's office described the events as an attempt to bring cultural enrichment to Thornton Township. One resident quipped, "We're struggling to keep our streets clean, and she's out here throwing parties." nobody asked for. Another sore point was her handling of township buses, which were frequently used to transport her supporters to various political events during the controversial caucus that saw her denied a spot on the ballot. Multiple witnesses reported that Henyard's buses arrived late, leaving her supporters stranded outside in the cold. While Henyard claimed this was evidence of voter suppression or orchestrated by her opponents, others saw it as a sign of her administration's disorganization. She wanted to pack the caucus with her people, but she couldn't even manage that properly. One attendee remarked that the image of seniors waiting outside in freezing temperatures became a flashpoint for criticism, with some saying it symbolized her disregard for the very people she claimed to represent. Adding to the frustration was Henyard's ongoing feud with the Dalton Park District, a separate government entity. And park officials alleged that Henyard deliberately withheld permits for park improvements, jeopardizing grants worth hundreds of thousands without those permits. Projects to upgrade playgrounds and other recreational facilities risk losing funding, potentially leaving taxpayers on the hook for the costs. Henyard's critics accused her of using the permit delays as a form of political retaliation, as the park district had allowed her opponents to host meetings on its property. Her office denied the allegations, but the delays fueled accusations that her leadership was more focused on settling personal scores than serving the community. As the controversies piled up, Henyard's relationship with the Dalton Village Board of Trustees deteriorated further. Trustees accused her of making major decisions without their approval, including hiring key officials. One such hire was her hand-picked police chief, who was reportedly unqualified for the role. The appointment sparked outrage, with critics claiming it was yet another example of Henyard's disregard for proper governance. A judge later ruled that the chief could only serve in an interim capacity, adding to the growing list of legal challenges Henyard faced. The judge today declined to hold her in contempt, but did warn her that if she did not follow the ruling, he would. But perhaps the most damaging accusations were financial. A preliminary report on Dolan's finances painted a grim picture. The township's general fund had gone from a healthy surplus to a massive deficit in just a few years under Henyard's leadership. Allegations of mismanagement and missing funds fueled calls for an investigation. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, brought in as a special investigator, described the situation as dire, highlighting questionable spending patterns and a lack of transparency in fighting.
I believe strongly that that meeting was improperly called and improperly held. The residents of
obstruction of justice. Then came the arrest of one of Henyard's close allies, a high-ranking police officer accused of bankruptcy fraud. Many saw this as a sign that the investigation was closing in on Henyard herself. A Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants her, and then it happened. In the early hours of the morning, federal agents arrived at Henyard's home and arrested her. Witnesses reported seeing her boyfriend, a controversial figure in his own right, watching as she was led away in handcuffs. The charges against